It's showtime! Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second ever book club discussion for Diversity is Lit. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I need to mute the live stream here. I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay. So if you're here, please let us know in the comments. I know there were a couple people who, like, Scribbling Cat said that it was 1 a.m. Where she was at this time, so she was going to watch the replay. So hello, if you're watching the replay, we are happy to have you. So our book club discussion pick for August was Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky by Kwame Mbalia. Yay! And I posted in the Facebook group a whole bunch of discussion questions. So hopefully the people that are either here or watching the replay can kind of answer the questions along with us. And so definitely put in the comments as we go through the questions. I know I also threw a lot because there was like 19 questions, which we don't have to answer them all. They're kind of like guidelines. And we usually kind of, as we're answering them, we kind of touch on like most of them anyway. That's at least what I found with the last one. But anyways, if you are here, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is HollyDavis. You can find me as WriteHollyDavis on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, of course on YouTube here. I'm a YA and middle grade fantasy writer, and I am hoping to become traditionally published and start querying again sometime early 2021, which isn't too far away now, which is good, which is a good thing. So I have some lovely co-hosts here, if you guys don't know. So I'm going to have, let's go in order. So Vanessa, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Vanessa. You can find me on Instagram at author Vanessa Marie. And I have a AuthorTube/BookTube channel here on YouTube. It's just Vanessa Marie. I write YA fantasy, paranormal, and yeah.
Happy to have you again. Okay, Heather.
Hi, everyone. I am Heather Venkat, known as Write Heather Venkat on Instagram and Write Venkat on Twitter. I am Holly's twin sister, also an aspiring author, hoping to be traditionally published. And I write both YA and middle grade, mostly fantasy, but also contemporary.
Yay! All right, Alicia.
So I am Alicia Grumley, and you can find me on Instagram at writer Alicia Grumley. And I do YA Twisted Fairy Tales. I do some nonfiction mental health advocacy, and I'm a poet. So those are kind of my areas that I like to dabble and aspiring published one way or the other one of these days.
Yay! And we are also missing another co-host, Teresa Beasley. Hopefully she is just running late and she will be on. I might send her like a message or something just in case she didn't get the link. But let's start up with the discussion. So the very first question that I like to ask is, what are your general overall thoughts on the book? So I'll go first and then we'll kind of go in order. Or I guess we'll, whoever wants to answer can just chime in. We can do it that way. But so at first, I was just loving Tristan feeling like he wasn't strong and wasn't good enough as a boxer because he lost that first match and felt like he had to live up and fill like his father's shoes, and his grandpa and his grandparents were like really tough on him. But then also he had this hidden grief that was uncovered as the book went on, which I felt like was really natural. It wasn't come on, can we figure out what's happening? It was oh yeah, we still need to know about this. And I loved the Chicago rep. I felt like that was so well done and made it seem so believable. I just loved it because I am from Chicago, so I just know everything about it. So I could feel Kwame, I'm yeah, you must have lived here because you definitely know the city. There were some times that I was confused by like the world in general with like Martha and Uncle C. Like I was kind of confused with like the enemies and exactly their place in the whole story. And I guess like because the world was so, it was different than anything I've ever read, so I didn't know what to expect. And I guess then for me, it was the unexpected was hard for me. For some reason, I'm like, ooh, I didn't expect this. But for me, then I didn't know, I don't know, it was a weird not knowing what was going to happen that kind of pulled me out because I was kind of confused. Oh, Teresa's here. Oh,
there she is. Hi, Teresa.
Hello. Do you want to be part of the live stream?
Do you want to come play with us? Do you want to play with us? Please come play with us.
Happy to have you. And James, hello, welcome. And Natalie is here. Hello. I love that you're here. You were here on the live stream on yesterday. Was that yesterday? Oh my gosh. Well, welcome back. Yes, I had that live stream yesterday. So thank you guys. Let us know too, if you did read the book, let us know your initial or your overall thoughts on the book. So Vanessa, do you want to go, or I guess anyone can go next.
I can go if you guys need more time. I was gonna say, or you guys want to go? You want me to go?
Go, Alicia. Go for it.
So I'm 2 thumbs up. I really enjoyed it. I, like I said, had not read the Rick Riordan Presents before, but I'm really happy that this was the first one. And I'm really happy that on October 6th, there's the second one coming out. So I think there's a preview for it, or like the cover release is in the back, but I loved it. I thought that the characters each had like their own strong voices. And okay, so like the spoiler disclaimer, right? If you haven't read, don't watch it. Right? Spoilers.
Thanks, Alicia.
I love Gum Baby. She is like sass of frass, and I love her so much. She makes me laugh. There were points where I was like reading her and just laughing my butt off. So I think that is really going to resonate with the crowd because it is a middle grade, you know, and I think that middle schoolers, you know, they love to laugh. And I think it was very, like, he did a really good job getting Gum Baby down. I feel like Kwame did a great job getting Gum Baby like to come off the page, because I just felt like I knew that character from the get-go, and I was like, this little shit, like this little doll.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Like one of the very first quotes that I pulled was from Gum Baby that was like, you know, and of course Gum Baby just yells in all caps, so it was like, oh good, in that case, Gum Baby will go upside your head if you ever think about shushing her again.
I think my favorite Gum Baby is at the end. It's 440, and it's the like, I mean, like, we've already done the spoilers, but he bent his head closer to the story box, lifting it to his face, and then jerked back with a quick flurry of slap balls flew out and smacked him in the eyes. Heard you was looking for these hands, a tiny voice shouted from inside the story box. Well, here they are, and Gum Baby gonna deliver them to you free of charge. Sap attack. And I was dying at that because it just really brought her character like full, you know, like Holly, we've talked about flat characters before, right? And I feel like Gum Baby is a flat character, but she's such a dynamic flat character that we really don't see her grow and change much, but we really get to see how she plays into the story, and I really like that. So I love it. I love some of his prose descriptions. I think like the descriptions of the other worlds are just on point. He's got some really great imagery that I was really able to imagine things going on. And I love the idea of the fetter lanes, right? And like, I've got, I don't know if you guys can see this, like a chain.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I wore it because like the fetter lanes, right? Or like, they're kind of cool and creepy. And I know we had talked about that like in our kind of private group discussion, like what are the fetter lanes? And like, they're like,
so the fetter lanes,
right,
are freaking cool. And they are
right
on the cover.
Right.
Gum Baby was on the cover, but I was like, I'll take at least the Fetterlings, but I was surprised that Gum Baby was not on the cover.
Right. And I actually thought the Fetterlings, because they were on the cover, sorry, I didn't know where they were. I thought that maybe they were going to be like one of Tristan's like unknown powers and things. So like the fact that they were working against him and all of the other good characters throughout the story, I thought was just really interesting. And yeah, like that'd be terrifying to have these like metal chains that are just sentient enough to be minions, right? Like they don't think for themselves. They don't like have any motivation, but they're animated and they like take prisoners, and there's no mercy from a Fetterling. And I think that's really cool. And like the way that he describes like their sizes and all the like different ways that Fetterlings kind of move is really great. So I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to get the second one when it comes out, because I would like to continue with Kwame. And I think I would read something else outside of this world, just from this author, because of how his descriptions really pulled me in.
Definitely. Yes. Loved it. Natalie said really quick, it's all blending together. Is that, I don't know what that's commenting on. So let us know. Hopefully it's not like the sound or anything. So let me know what you meant by that. I hope everything's okay.
I'll go. Yeah, I thought this was a solid debut. I did enjoy it. I tried to read it from since it is a middle grade, from that lens, because middle grade books are very different from YA books. And so this one had, I was really, really immersed in the world. I was grateful for the map because it helped me sort of visualize like where they were in relation to where they had just been, and the different places that they traveled to. And I did at one point feel a little bit overwhelmed by all of the characters. I was trying to keep track of everyone and like what they were doing, and like what role they sort of played in the novel. But I don't think it really like took away from my experience per se. Yeah, I feel like I don't have too much else to add from what Holly and Alicia have already said.
Cool.
So I would say, kind of going off of what Alicia, what you were saying, Gum Baby was probably my favorite as well. And you read the book. I had also listened to the audio. So
nice.
I would definitely recommend the audio if anyone listens to audiobook, because one, it was done really, really well. And two, just hearing Gum Baby in the audio, I think you would love it so much more.
Oh gosh, I can't wait.
Her voice in the audio makes it so much better.
That's great.
I didn't even think about that. I missed out on her voice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Gum Baby. She's so funny.
So, I kind of going back to what you were saying, Holly, before, and with you, where I was confused a bit. And like, I know I had messaged you guys asking, is anyone else confused? I'm not entirely sure what was going on. And I don't know if that's because I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know if it's just that everything is happening so quickly, moving so fast. And so I'm kind of getting lost, which I love fast-paced books and I love books that are action-packed and stuff. But I don't know if it was necessarily that the plot was moving too fast, or if it was that I wasn't familiar with the characters and the mythology. So like going into this book, I did not grow up reading stories about John Henry or Briar Rabbit or any of these characters. So it's like, I don't know if it's just maybe there's something with the mythology that I'm missing because I don't know the stories or what it was. But yeah, I got kind of confused.
Yeah, maybe that was where I was confused too.
Well, and I think that might actually be where I had the issue with so many characters. I think he really tried to pack in a lot of the mythology, but I had to go and look it up. Like Miss Sarah and Miss Rose were from this myth that I believe it was, oh no, it is starting to rain and you will not hear me. Uh-oh. Okay.
It's
Anyway,
okay. You have a nice background ambiance, you know, background
okay,
music.
you can't hear me. Anyway, so, but I had to go back and look up. It's like, I think it's based off of like Igbo landing or something like that, where it's this myth that like some of the African American slaves were able to grow wings in order to escape slavery and like fly back to Africa. And it's like, I didn't know that at all. So when the characters first came in, I didn't make that connection. I had to like look it up. They did say they had wings, but I think it was part of that familiar. But I think he did a good job of blending it all together. But it was chock full of stuff.
Yeah,
Really chock.
Yeah, because that was one thing I noticed when I was reading. I was like, oh, it's so fast paced because like kids lose their attention very quickly. And it's like, oh, boys are like, especially little boys, they're going to see themselves in Tristan and just love it and think it's like so cool. And it needs to be a movie if it's not going to be already.
Right. I think, yeah, I totally agree, Holly, that like that fast pace is absolutely perfect for middle grade, because as soon as you lose your attention, they're not going to keep reading it. And that's like such an uphill battle for middle grade boys in particular anyway. But I was a little confused with the mythology, but I think that speaks really well of why like our book club is necessary, right? Because there's so many more mythologies in the world than like this, you know, Eurocentric view. Like I'm a Greek mythology aficionado. I love Greek mythology, you know, and I like kind of like all mythologies. Like that's one of the reasons why I like fairy tales, right? Because they tell us something about our world. There's a connection there, and there's just something there, right? And so like when you can find those threads that go through, I like that. And I like that like Tristan's a storyteller and he focuses on the stories, but it's like so good for us all to be reading these books because it points out yet again like how important the story is for culture.
Totally. Yeah. And that's why I liked the foreword by Rick Riordan saying like, I couldn't write this and I like hopped on this because this is awesome. And so I really appreciated that. So, and I have read Arusha all the time. So I have read that Rick Riordan presents. And I think, Heather, you've read The Serpent's Secret. Is that also Rick Riordan?
The Serpent's Secret is not Rick Riordan. Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse is Rick Riordan.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
And there's another one. I think there's another one coming out, or it might be, yeah, I think we're up to like 3 or 4 of the Riordan Presents now. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Vlandis is here. Hi, Mr. Vlandis. Welcome, welcome. So let's go into, I think this will be fun to say, our favorite part of the book. So for me, it was when Tristan, you know, because he's in a non-system. And so I hope I'm saying that right. But he was telling the story of the monsters and about Mafa to convince the rich folk why he needed Nyame's story box. And then Abi Yo-Yo came to life and he ended up getting the story box because he convinced everyone. But then in the end, the box was empty. And like, it was like, oh, there's nothing in here. And that was like shocking. And I just loved that because it was like not something you'd expect. Like, oh, he worked so hard, did this cool thing. Like they did all this stuff to get this box and it's empty. That was my favorite part.
Oh, Heather, were you going to say something? Sorry, I didn't want to.
Nope, you go for it.
Okay. So it's really hard for me to pick a favorite part because I really felt like there were a lot of parts that I loved. I loved that scene, like right before that, Holly, where they're like entering into the Gold City, like or the Golden City Crest, Golden Crest. Yeah. I love that. I just love the visual description that we get in that scene. It just feels very well imagined, and that's kind of how it came across to me, was that it was well imagined. And I think I love most the punishment at the end. I think it's so creative, and it sets up book 2 really well, which I didn't realize at the time when I first started reading it that there was a book 2. So like I'm excited to see, but I think if there wasn't, it's a fine standalone. I think everything feels pretty well. I mean, there's some things that might need to be wrapped up still, but I really like that punishment. I like that he's got to live on the phone screen for the next 3 weeks, give or take. And I think that's really creative, and I think it's going to be really interesting to get to see how the relationship, I'm guessing, between Tristan and Anasazi, that's right? That's how you say that?
Anansi.
Like develops, because he's going to have him on his like phone when he gets back. So that'll probably have something to do with book 2, I would think, like their interaction, because they irritated each other so much in the first place. So.
Oh, I thought he was in the story box to use as he sees fit.
But doesn't he have to live as like on a cell phone when they go back to Tristan's world? He has to like.
Okay.
He has to live
in the story box, and the story box turned into the cell phone, right?
Oh, got it. Okay.
He's staying with me. It's like 467, 468. He's like, Naomi is like, no, you will need constraints. And they all stare in confusion. And he starts bringing this like glittering mixture. I'm skimming. And like the story box, he hands him the story box. And then he like makes it into like a cell phone. And like, but then you see the spider crawling across the screen, which is like so funny.
That's awesome. Really quick, I want to say, Teresa said, I like it when they meet Hi John and he takes Tristan out of his body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really cool. And he showed him the thicket and everything. So I liked that part too. And then Mr. Vlandis, we're talking about Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, which is a middle grade fantasy adventure, which is awesome. And you should check it out.
Heather, Vanessa, did you guys have a favorite part?
I think my favorite part had more to do with towards the end, where he was actually starting to deal with the grief.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I think it was the part where like, I think it was like after he was seeing his friend on the bus. I think it's the whole scene where he was reimagining or reliving like what happened and the fact that he couldn't save his friend, and like all the guilt that he felt because he couldn't save him. And I think I wrote down a line from there that I like. Let me see if I think I wrote it down, but let me see if I have that.
I have one that I love about grief too, Vanessa. So if you can't find it, let me know, and if it's not the same one, it might be the same one, because I know that.
So many good grief. Like, I thought the grief, all of that was really powerful too.
Yeah.
At the end, learning about what happened and him having to overcome that was really powerful.
This is the line that I wrote down. They said, could you have saved your friend? Maybe. But that maybe ain't gonna change anything. Can't live with grief whispering in your ear, pulling you this way and that. But you can't shove it in a drawer deep inside yourself. Neither. Nah, you got to sit grief down and talk to it, listen to it, come to terms with it. Pain is the body's way of saying it's healing. So you gotta let it heal.
Mhm. That was the one I had picked out too.
Powerful.
Yeah.
That also sounds like an Alicia-ism. Which is what we call like Alicia's beautiful, like just eloquent words of advice, words of wisdom.
Truth, sometimes, right? We truth.
That was beautiful.
I love
Yeah, I know one that I pulled from that talking about it with when Tristan was talking about Eddie not being there, and he said, I missed my old problems, which was like a really powerful line.
That was one thing in the book that actually was killing me. I was like, how did his friend die? Because from the start, he died, but they didn't say how he died and how devastated he was from it. I was like, what happened? I was like, I wanted to know, like, from the start, and they, like, you know, they obviously waited until the right time to reveal it. But, like, every single time, like, Eddie's name was brought up or, like, they mentioned the journal, I'm like, yeah, what happened to him? Tell me.
Right. What about you, Heath? What's your favorite part?
There were a lot, but I just picked one, maybe not so much favorite because it is kind of depressing, but it was a powerful scene that really stood out to me, was when they were crossing the sea and the bone ships showed up, and there were all of the crying and the wailing, and it literally like made my stomach drop and like gave me chills, because we know what that is alluding to, but they don't outrightly say it, and it just like was it, and him just trying to get away from them. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is such a powerful scene, and if they ever adapt it into a movie, like, that is just going to be chilling. Like, it's super strong.
Right. Mr. Vlandis said Tristan's a cool name. I like it. Okay, so when I first started reading and taking notes, I'm like, I need to not be corny, but I'm going to say this. Like, this was literally my first thought. Oh, this has a great, strong voice.
Oh, you did it. You went there.
I know. And I had to wrap myself out for my mom jokes. Yeah, because it's like, it's not a dad joke, it's a mom joke, and I say them a lot.
Speaking of mom and dad, I have a quote that Kwame put in here, like with mom and dad, that I just felt was so poignant. Hold on, give me a second. Right?
Yeah, let's
right here.
Quotes and stuff too.
He filled in the cracks in the wood with a father's pride and a mother's belief. And I just like got chills from that. I was like, oh, that is an incredible line, because like the loss of either one of those things is so deeply felt, right? So like that resonates on level across level, because I know how proud my dad is of me, and I know like nobody believed in me more than my mama, right? And like just like knowing that, and like imagining if you didn't have that, how poignant that would be. And I just it like made me stop in my tracks. I was like, that is so good.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. So oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I have, because sorry. Well, there was a lot of comedy, so I'm gonna say like the like more serious one, and then I'm gonna say two other funny ones that I like. Or actually, there were three. Well, so and there were so many more too that I found, but some of the quotes. So guys, if you have any quotes, go ahead and share those that you liked in the comments. Or if you're watching the replay, still comment and kind of answer the questions along with us after the fact. But one of the ones was John Henry when he was talking to Tristan, and he said, everybody wears life scars a little differently, I suppose. So I like that kind of tying into the grief thing. But the funny ones I had were when they were building Tristan up, like, all right, you have to go on this mission, you have to do this, and they're saying all these things, and like, so Tristan, are you ready to be hero? And he's like, no. And that's how the chapter ends. And I was just like, that is awesome. That's what so like I learned this, and it actually came up. I just finished making a Preptober calendar that I'm going to have up for free on my website. If you're a newsletter subscriber, it'll be on the members page. But one of the days you have to write out your like what if questions and use that to kind of build your plot. So with the what ifs, you say like, what if, it's kind of like what people might expect to happen versus what actually does happen. And so sometimes what people think will happen does actually happen, but you don't want that to be the whole story. So that's something you would be like, oh yeah, he would say yes. So this may have been a time where Kwame was like, people are going to expect him to say yes, so I'm going to make him say no. So I really liked that. I appreciated that. Okay, and then the two other funny ones are, how do you punish God? Hey, you, no dessert. And then, oh, I put hey you and Google came up. It was like, it thought I said hey Google. Oh, it's activated again. Okay.
Mute it.
And then Tristan was like, oh, talking about like the Federlings. I was like, why did everything around here have to sound so painful? Why couldn't we be up against creatures called fluffbirds and taffy paws? So I just love those lines. So endearing. It was just made me laugh out loud a lot of times.
Great. I have to share. One was, this was when John Henry and Gumbaby and Brer were arguing together, and Tristan's just like, you know, listening to them argue, and it's like, and he's like, when grown-ups get on their high horses, those things gallop for days.
I love the way he talks about like grown-ups talking to and about kids. I thought that was excellent. Like that's kind of like a motif throughout, right? And like, yeah, that was a really good one. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the other one was when he finds out that he's the Anan Sesam. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Anan Sesam. I asked, tripping over the syllables. What does that mean? A storyteller, John Henry answered. But more than just words, more than just once upon a time and the end. It's about the entire experience, from the audience to the stage to the spectacle.
What page is that on, Heather?
I didn't put the page number down.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was gonna say, I feel like I might have marked it, but that's a good one. Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
I think. Oh, go ahead. What?
Oh, no, I was just going to say really quick, Teresa asked, didn't the journal form into Eddie at one point to help Tristan?
Yeah, like his memory, like his essence kind of came back. And that was
like, it made me think like, oh, Eddie's been alive all this time. And then when he went away, I was like, oh, no, he's not. Okay. But he like tricked me for a second because I thought like he's been alive this whole time. And
right. And
then Natalie says, makes me think of Harry Potter. Oh, why couldn't it be follow the butterflies?
Yeah, there's some good reference there.
That's a great parallel. Yes. Alicia, did you have any other quotes?
Yes. And this one, give me just a second. Okay, I'm on the page. So it is talking about I think it's Uncle C talking, or maybe it's John Henry. I'm not sure who's talking to Tristan, but somebody's talking to Tristan. Mm-hmm. And I think it's Uncle C. Oh, no, it's Hi John. Sorry, it's Hi John. So Hi John says, why do you think Naime hoards them? Why do you think Iron Monsters is hauling us all back into the belly of that monster? Power, boy. It's all about power. You control the story. You control the narrative. You control power. And I just thought, like, if I had to pick a quote from this book to describe what's going on in the world today and, you know, like with anti-racism and the narrative that surrounds it, I feel like that is what I would pick. That is the one that I would say, like, this is where we're at, because it's absolutely true. You control the story, you control the narrative. And, you know, like victory or like history is never written by the losers, right? Like I've heard that said before. And I think there's just so much there in the power struggle and in all of that it just really spoke to me about the current climate. And it reminded me, like, yeah, you've got to be careful. And I think his grandma told him earlier, like, if you're going to tell a story, you better be careful which one you're telling. And I liked that too, because it's like, I really liked that theme. Whoop, I just hit myself in the face. I really like that theme throughout the whole thing of you know, because our stories are our power, and nobody can tell my story the way I can tell my story. And I think as writers, that's really important to remember. But I think as people caring for each other in a community, that's also really important to remember, because nobody can take away our story, but we should be not taking away other people's ability to tell their stories either.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
That was actually the other quote that I wrote down. I only wrote down 2, and that was the second one.
We've got some similar taste there, Vanessa. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. So I guess, what was there anything that surprised you most about the book? Well, I think for me it was the plot. Well, I wasn't expecting all the Chicago references, so I appreciated that. But then also the plot twist with Anansi being disguised as Brer Rabbit the whole time. Like, it was like he was there the whole time. Mic drop. Loved it.
Yeah. I'm hanging same. Like, I did not see that coming. And I don't know if I would have liked to have seen it coming a little bit more, because I thought it was very well done. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I like being able to predict those kind of things, but I was just kind of like, wait a minute, what did I just read? I was like so mad. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I was like even more mad at Anasazi, and like, but I love Brer Fox so much, right? Like, he is just a BA character. And then like to like have him like taken out so early, and you know, all of that, and to have Brer Rabbit, who is annoying, and Tristan like doesn't like him from the get-go, I think is really compelling to like, at least to tell kids to like trust their instincts a little bit, you know, like not everybody that you meet on first impression stays in that first impression, right? But like for kids that are learning their voices and are learning where they are in the world and learning who they are and who they want to be, that idea of like trusting themselves is something that is never too early to start implanting, I think.
Yes.
So yeah, the plot twist though got me crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually, I was gonna say the same part, and when that happened, I was like, wait a minute, did they drop any hints? Did they drop any clues that I didn't see? Mm-hmm. And I don't think he did. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, more than just like a out of the blue. But maybe it was there and I just didn't pick up on it. So I would have to go back and see. But that was probably, I would say that's the same scene that surprised me the most.
I think for me, I was a little distracted because I kept thinking High John was going to be a problem. He came in and he was supposed to be this ally, and like he was kind of the reinforcements, and he kind of like the whole time I was going like, oh my God, not High John, not High John, not High John, right? And I think that it was that like almost that was the clue. It was like the diversion tactic a little bit, like because I was really focused. I was like, no, not High John, because he just felt shady to me. I was like,
especially because of what I'm forgetting who it is now. That one god that they go to.
Nayame?
Maybe. I forget what god it was. But he told Tristan something, I forget the line, but it was something along the lines of, you know, you can't trust the people that are close to you, and the ones that you think are your enemies may.
Yeah, like maybe your like base ally or something. Yeah. Like, yeah.
So that's what made me think, like you said with Hi John. I was like, I don't know.
This guy's shady. He's shady. What's he doing? He's shady. Yeah, like I just got that feeling from him the whole time. And then he like wasn't fighting, right? Like wasn't he like, oh, there's nothing I can do? Like, and that just like didn't sit well with me either. Because I'm like, bro, come on, you got some power. Like you got enough power to like get Tristan out of his body, but not enough to like stand up to the Federlings, really?
Right.
Yeah. Makes no. Yeah.
I also realized there was another part that really surprised me, was finding out that the Mafa was actually the ship.
Rather than like a person or like a, yeah, okay.
Right. When I was trying to look to see if the god's name, I was like, oh yeah, there was that. Also, I forgot that this was another really cool part that I liked. Well, there were two kind of scenes close to each other. One was when Tristan was shadow boxing the Fetterlings with like the black gloves that he got. Like that scene was so cool. So I would really like to see that. And then also how Tristan was making a bargain with the Mafa to like tell his story of the gods and mid-pass, because like everything would be forgotten. People are afraid to speak his name. And like I thought that was kind of cool too, because it was like
you control the story, you control the narrative, right? Like there it is. Yeah. Like, oh, it's so good. Because nobody wants to be forgotten.
That needs to be the tagline at the beginning, like you control the narrative, like, or something like that. Like
yeah, that'd be so good. Like for the movie, yeah, you control the narrative. Like,
yes.
Oh, boom, Aliciaisms on movie screens.
Oh, you said that part about the Mafa threw me too. Yup.
Yeah, and I could see that kind of as part of like I kind of thought that there were a couple themes going on that like he was trying to get across, like one being about the storytelling, like there's power in words and stories and experiences. Like you don't have to just punch everything to be strong. Like so he had both the physical strength, but also the strength in the storytelling. But then also it's like, okay, but then the other theme is sort of like you're stronger than you think, because he was like, oh, I couldn't save my friend, like he had a lot of guilt there, but it's like, don't give up, you are stronger than you think. And so I felt like that came across really, really well throughout the book.
Yes.
I liked his tagline though, like so much, like strongs keep punching. I just love that. Like, yeah. And there was a quote that I had about like that kind of keep punching mentality. And it was like, but the words stuck with me. I was good at boxing. The conviction surprised me, but I honestly believed that whatever came next, I could face it with both fists raised. And I was like, yes, Tristan, go, buddy. Yes. Like I want to see somebody that wants to fight for what they believe, or what maybe they didn't realize they were going to fight for it, but like that moment when he like owned that.
Yes, totally. There were a lot of like fist pumping moments in the book.
Yeah.
So does anyone have a specific question they want to answer, or talk about something that we haven't talked about yet?
I have something.
Okay.
It is actually on who was my least favorite character.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I'm interested.
And then I was like fixated by it. It made me so angry. Actually, his granddad. What really bothered me in the beginning, because I felt like he was trying to grieve and he was not given that chance. So I actually have a lot here, so sorry about that. But
no, you're fine.
So first off, they're sending him to work on the farm, which I felt like seems kind of harsh. Like, I know they kind of wanted to distract him and get, have him get fresh air, but like his granddad's like said while repairing the fence, Tristan, the Eddie's journal kind of falls out of Tristan's pocket or bag or something like that, and he's like, you need to leave that writing nonsense alone, boy. Ain't gonna get you nowhere but confused. I didn't say anything. What do you got to write about anyway? Video games, TV, all that city life got you boys soft. I would have had your dad out here at the break of dawn. How you think he got them heavyweight shoulders? Strong work, boy. And then he said, your mama told me you ain't been, or the Nana says, your mama told me you ain't been eating much, and we're going to fix that. And don't you have some writing to do? That's what your counselor wants you to focus on. Boy don't need no counselor, Granddad rumbled. He needs to work. Ain't no time for moping when horses need feeding and fences need mending. With Granddad, everything is about work. Work, work, work. Bored? Here's some work. Finished working? Here's more work. Need someone to talk to? Obviously, that meant you didn't work hard enough. So you know what? Have a little more work. And then, sorry, the last one is when his granddad said, get him in the fields, put him to work. And his mom said, who knows? Maybe you'll find out you were meant to work the land. And I was like, no. And so I could see that they were trying to get him to be like, he's being real tough on him, but I felt like it was way too tough. I was like, his friend just died. Like, let him just like lay in the field with a straw in his mouth and just stare up at the sky. Like, I felt so bad for Tristan right there. And I really wanted to see at the end it kind of come full circle a little bit more. And but I didn't really get that. And I hope that there's more of it in the second book, because it just rubbed me the wrong way. And obviously I knew that it was there for a purpose, to make us really feel bad for Tristan and really, but I was like, wanted them to be like, at the end, be like, hey, you know what? It's okay if you want to talk to a counselor about your problems and write in your journal about your friend dying, like that kind of thing, you know, because it's not just about boys being tough, you know, they can be soft, they can cry, and they can grieve. So yeah, I had a bone to pick with Granddad for sure.
I missed that a little bit. I knew he was being tough, but I just kind of moved on from it.
I was gonna say, and I didn't like Granddad, but I understand that mentality. So my like grandparents were farmers, and like my dad was, but like, so like I kind of grew up like knowing farm mentality, and it's like there's something to that mentality of hard work heals a little bit, right? Because like seriously, like horses still have to be fed, you know, like cows still have to be fed, all of that stuff still has to happen. And there's a little bit of like processing that can be worked through in the actual physical action of doing that. So I did think he was being very tough on him, but I also understood that like that is a generational thing, and that is a generational thing in my experience of farmers. Like that is like my grandpa, yeah, for sure. Like, and that is not to say like my grandpa supported us through like emotionally through like, you know, the loss of my mom and all of that. But he was just like, I don't know if anybody saw like those old, like the John Wayne movies, like that tough cowboy, you know, like take no spit, give no spit. Like that's where we're at. So Heather, I see what you're saying, because I think that like in today's climate, we definitely need to be making sure that boys are emotionally prepared to be strong men, right? Because you can't be a strong man without having some emotional understanding of your life, right? And of your relationships. But I think at the same time that Kwame did a really good job of characterizing Granddad, because it's hard to like dislike someone who's trying to implant such a like strong work ethic in a kid. You know, like I don't necessarily agree with his methods. And I think we as women probably interpret that differently, right? Because we're all a little bit more like, oh, honey, come here, let me love you, let me help you. Typical, right? Like not all women, not all the time. But I think that it didn't come off to me as too much, just because I kind of had that understanding of like, yeah, like you just have to do it. You have to work. You have to get it done. And it doesn't matter right now. Like it matters to you, and it matters in the long run, like how your heart feels, but it doesn't like change the fact that they still have to feed horses and they still have to harvest their stuff. So I agree and I disagree, if that makes sense. Like,
no, totally. And I could see what you're saying with the generational thing. Like when I was reading it, it was very believable. Like I was
right.
like because I could see it being like a generational thing as well, which is totally believable.
Mhm.
And like I said, I think it needed to happen
Right.
there, but I wanted to do the thing where I'm like, let me just give you a hug, you poor boy. So you hit the nail on the head there.
I just think like for you, your problem was that it didn't come full circle. So hopefully in book 2, he'll be able to confront his grandpa and say, I needed this, I'm still strong, this and that. And then I think it'll be resolved.
Yeah. And I bet they're going to be in Tristan's world more in the second book. So
yes.
I bet we'll get to see more of that.
Oh, sorry. I think
it'll, like, I'm hoping they'll get more into that in the second book. But going back to, I think it's definitely a generational thing, but I also think part of it is a cultural thing as well. His granddad saying, you know, you don't need to write, you don't need to talk to a counselor or whatever. That's something that's like, I think, and someone else I've seen another reviewer mention this in their review as well, that part of the Black culture is like, you don't talk to your problems with other people, family problems or your feelings or whatever. You don't talk about that with outsiders or with, other people. Like, it's very much stays kind of closed off, stays with you, with their family. And so I think, you kind of get some of that in there where he's like, you don't need a counselor, you don't,
right.
So hopefully, though, it does, like you said, circle back more in the second book. And I think it does it a little bit towards the end of this book. Like I said, towards the end, he is starting to talk more about how he felt with this grief, his guilt. He started talking about it a little bit towards the end, but to see it come back around with him and his granddad, I think would be good.
Yeah, definitely.
Point.
Natalie said that moment you want to be a cheerleader in the story to speak directly to a character. That's true. And then Teresa, I'll get to yours, but this is also says, my dad said the world isn't going to stop because you shed a tear. He grew up on a farm. I let my kids have the emotions, recognize them and experience them, but we press forward with what needs to be done. Yeah, that's really powerful. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Teresa said, I can't remember if Tristan ever got the journal back. Oh,
sorry. Can you hear me?
Oh, there's 2 of you. Okay.
Oh, there's 2.
Hold on. Let me put you on here and remove this. Okay. That's weird.
Is there more of me now?
No, it's just like a second one of you came up and I just had to switch. Teresa said, I can't remember if Tristan ever got the journal back or if it was destroyed. And I was trying to look at my notes.
Got it back, didn't he?
I thought he did because he was making the trade with Uncle Cotton to, he would give him the story box and free him if Uncle C gave him the journal and his memories. So I'm pretty sure that trade went through, if I'm correct. Uh-oh.
Am I gone again? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now you're back in voice form.
Okay. Well, maybe here I am. Am I here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we're back.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so while we wrap up, let's go ahead and do the last question. Are there any, kind of ties into Heather wanting to know, wanting to have that tie-in with the granddad, but are there any lingering questions from the book you're still thinking about? What do you think will happen in the next book? Obviously want to know how Tristan's going to seal the tear, help rebuild Mid-Pass. What role will Anansi, John Henry, and High John play in the story? I don't know if Ayana will, play a bigger part. I'm assuming that everyone's going to kind of make cameos and stuff, but just what kind of role will they play in the next book?
Does anybody remember the title off the top of their head for the second book? It's like, isn't it like Destroys Gods or something? Tristan Strong destroys the gods or destroys the world. Maybe it's Destroys the World. Does that sound right?
Yep, Destroys the World.
Yeah, so I think that title is very intriguing, right, from the get-go.
Super cool.
Oh, like what are we destroying? And like I wonder if one of the questions then will be like, what is worth saving? Because I think that he'll have that journey of trying to figure out, like, he's going to have to destroy something to maybe make something better or stronger, right? Or he's going to have to destroy something to save something else. So like that might be one of those questions that we find, like, what is worth saving? And like, how do you decide that as a, middle schooler? Like,
right.
I will say one thing that I liked, which I feel like middle school books does this well. It's YA books that frustrate me because it's got a huge cliffhanger at the end, and it's like, but it doesn't feel like with YA. It doesn't feel like you got a real ending, satisfying ending. Whereas I feel like with middle grade, even though it's a series and the story continues, I feel like each book could kind of be read as a standalone. Like, I feel like this one could be read as a standalone.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I really felt like he wrote this as that standalone with series potential because things wrapped up really nicely, but then there's still leaves things open for more.
Yeah. What world is destroyed? Which world?
Right.
Which world?
Yeah, because the implication is that they're coming back to our world. But I think it's going to be interesting to see which side. Yeah, because like they're probably going to have to go back again.
Yeah. And we don't have to wait too long to find the answer. So that wraps up our discussion of Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. So we are trading this book for this book. And our book club pick for September is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah, sorry, I don't know how to say her name, Johnson. This is a contemporary romance with LGBT representation. So it sounds really, really good. I'm excited that this will be our first contemporary read. And yeah, so if you guys are interested, please read this. Check out the Facebook page is linked down below. I haven't linked these lovely ladies, but please follow them on the interwebs. And thank you guys for joining us. Thank you to my lovely co-hosts. Have had such a good discussion with you guys. Any last words you want to say?
Strongs keep punching. Let's go kick some butt. Like, it's time.
We'll try to wear matching clothes this time. We forgot for Tristan Strong, but purple shouldn't be too hard.
If you think I'm not going to wear a crown, you've got another thing coming.
We all need to wear crowns. Okay.
Hello. Obviously. That's easy.
Done.
Make one.
Don't let me forget. Okay.
Okay, I'll text you before.
All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.